about that. So the earnings, the estimated earnings, I don't know exactly when they were posted because they didn't like release news about it. I just happened to look at the calendar every day, and I have been for probably a month now, maybe even. I've been looking at the market every single day, mainly because they keep changing the date. They keep pushing back. So I don't remember. I can't recall when the original earnings was, but they pushed it back to the 23rd of June and then pushed it back to the 6th of July. So they pushed it back twice now. Technically 3 times because they pushed it back to the original date due to COVID reasons back in March or April when it should have been. So anyways, the reason I brought this screen up is the earnings estimated EPS. You can see negative 0.070. One thing that you want to look at there is the EPS that they've actually done in the past. Okay. The only time they've beaten that EPS is in Q1 2017. They had an EPS of 0. And then Q2 of 2018, they had an EPS of 0.1. That's the only time they've beaten that EPS. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. Well, actually, take that back. 0.030 in Q2 2000. Just keep that in mind. You know, that's technically a high EPS, but for what Mark has going on, and what they've always had going on in the past, if you've known about markets, they've really had more just a fluff. Any type of revenue that they had was really off of their stock, not off of actual product, which they now have revenue off of actual product. So you got to keep that in mind too. But it's the same thing. Estimated revenue 1.31 million. You can see they've beaten that. I mean, tons. 20 million was the revenue before. That was really probably, I mean, based off the stock. I know that when I researched them, they entered the like facial recognition market in 2018 at some time, but they didn't really start making any money on it until 2018. So all of this revenue is really off of their cannabis run stock market and really just the stock price. They had no product. It was a pump. They do have a product now, so something to keep in mind. But just be fair warning that EPS is something they don't beat often. Now that revenue, I mean, they should blow that out of the water. That estimated revenue, while they only had 260K in Q4, they didn't really have too much product. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's a question that actually I'm going to ask, or Cosmic is going to ask in the conference call. So pay attention to that during the Q&A session. One of us is going to be asking about the what Cosmic talked about, the ConCon AI contract, and they also had another contract. I don't remember. I can't pronounce the name. It starts with an H, Wiseman or Hazanen, Hazanan, something like that. But 2 really big contracts that should have been tons of, and it's just not showing up on the. So that's something to question. And even though I'm long biased, that's a question that I'm going to have, but it's a forming of the wording of the question very important, because I want to word the question to make it sound like people will actually buy the stock based off. So keep that in mind. I'm not going to try to call them out as if they're hiding something or fraudulent or whatever the case may be. But keep that in mind. 0.070, that's, pretty high for them, that EPS. Pretty high for them to beat. So I wanted to talk about ZERS and Job. Those were 2 plays that I called on Thursday. Those are the 2 YouTube videos that I just posted, actually. So the reason I want to talk about it is it's very important to understand news and why something might move and why something might do something else or whatever the case may be. So this is the news right here, 12:20 a.m. If you can't see it, I'll read it. It's GEE Group eliminates over 47 million in debt and mezzanine finance. So that makes basically they cleared 47 million debt. So the important number is 47 million. Benzinga highlights that for you. Very, very nice. So at the time, this stock was at 50 cents. So we'll say the stock is pretty low price stock, right? So as soon as I click it on the news feed, when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the news feed. I'm not looking at this big research page. But so I click it on the news feed, which pops up the details on my main page. And this is the main thing I'm looking at right away. I want to know if it's been bought in. So basically I can click on the 1 month chart on the overview. You could go with 5-day, but 1 month is better for me. You can see it's pretty flat, and it's actually been on a downtrend before this news. So you clearly know that the price is not bought in, and it's going to spike off of this news. A lot of times news, buy the rumor, sell the news. So that's why you look at that, because if a stock has been steadily uptrending up to this news, well, there's a good chance that it's bought in, and you might get a 10% gain or 20% gain and then a massive sell-off. So that's something to look at that you always want to look at. Other than that, on the overview page, you got a quick float right there, 12.649 million. That's pretty awesome. Their market cap is gone up, apparently, 23 million. It was 4 million the other day. So I don't know why it says 23 million. As a matter of fact, you can watch my YouTube video that I just created today, and it was 4 million. So they just changed that. But anyway, at the time, it was a 4 million market cap. So that's a big jump, obviously, off the stock. But 4 million market cap, low float. Again, the news was for 47 million in debt clearance with a 4 million market cap. You can see their net income on the last earnings is 5 million, negative 5 million. But then if you go to their key data, you'll actually see their total net income is negative 19 million. So that 47 million just cleared that by twice as much. Their revenue is 149. So that's going to be a big boost to this company. The other thing that I like to look at is average volume. It's 1.7 million. That's actually really good. A lot of these stocks that you've seen moving lately have like 300K average volume. So if you get stuck, you're fucked. It's going to be hard to get out of at a price that you not very liquid. This average volume, that's good. Anything over a million is good for me. 900K really. Anything over 900K is really good. So again, 47 million debt clearance on the financing, 4 million market cap at the time of the news, and then negative 19 on the net income. So that's going to make a big impact. So I knew that would move. I knew it would do good. I actually recommend selling right up in here. Well, actually, you can't even. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. I recommended selling right up in, because that's really the safe play. Sure, it made these other spikes, but risk-wise, it could have faded the rest of the day, like a lot of stocks do. So those people that can't play in that 4 a.m. time zone, that's before 7 a.m. Sometimes you miss out on those big plays. That's why me and Aaron and Willie and some other people, we like the 4 a.m.s because Tim Syke likes the 10 or the 10% gains, 10%, 20% gains. I like the 300%. That's a solid. I mean, you're not getting scared out of that position. That's just a solid spike of 300%. So anyway, then we'll bring up ZERS. And I called this play as well. I called it as a downside short at the top. I didn't know about ZERS. I didn't research ZERS the night before. Kind of strange for me. I really should have seen it. I don't know if it didn't just pop up on my movers for the after hours or what the case may be. But immediately at 4 a.m., if you noticed, I don't know if I pointed that out on job real quick. Let me go back. That is not job. So on job, it didn't actually spike until 6 o'clock. I could have made a move on it right here. I saw the initial spike on it at like 5 o'clock. Never really made a move on it. Just wanted to see the volume that I like to see. But yeah, you see it spiked at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So you had plenty of time to get in on that awesome news. Plenty of time. The reason I think that it didn't spike at 4 o'clock is because of ZERS. And ZERS had very similar type news, not quite the same, but money in the bank, so to speak. So it had a government contract after hours of 4.1 million. Okay, government contract. That's really big news. That's guaranteed money, basically. 4.1 million again is the important number, highlighted by Benzinga Pro. You gotta love that. But as you can see, it spiked and it dipped. Typical after hours. That usually happens. The news is really not that good. When the news is really good, it doesn't tend to do that. But it did climb after hours, and technically that would be a good 4 a.m. play for me. It closed on the height of the day, had some good volume. And then at 4 a.m., you can see it gapped up. That's what the black space is in between the lines there. And then it really spiked really well. So I saw it. I watched 4 a.m. spikers. I watched the movement on stuff. So I saw it immediately. I was like, why is this moving? I saw why it was moving, 4.1 million. Again, I did my quick research. I didn't care if it was bought in at this point, so I'm not looking at the chart because it's spiking. It's not bought in. But I did want to see the other numbers. So the market cap is 104 million. Okay, so 4.1 million and 104 million. All right, good. Good to know. So the net income on their last earnings statement is 29 million. So just on their quarter one earnings, they only brought their net income down to negative 25 million with it. Okay. So the other thing, key data, same thing. Net income 129 in the negative. 4 million revenue. So you're looking at it doubling your revenue. That's great. But it only brings your net income down to a negative 125 million. That's nothing. It's bullshit news. And so as soon as I saw that, I called the downside short, saw the spike, said, this is going to fade. I actually got yelled at on Twitter for it quite a bit. And as you can see from the chart, I was right and they were wrong. But that's why valuation news is very important. So anytime you see something, finance or a contract, make sure it's actually going to do anything and it's not just couch change, because that's what I see that as. If 4.1 million is your contract and you owe 129 million, big deal. That's yeah. So anyway, that was my main topic for the day. I did want to touch base on my weekly watch list real quick. My weekly watch list, I don't know if y'all pay attention to it. I really think you should because I put a lot of information in my weekly watch list. I don't look at the plays that happened last week. I look at the plays that might happen this week. So I'm not always going to be right, obviously. So do your own due diligence. But in this case, I was pretty much spot on all week long. NBY, AHPI, and APT were all mask plays. So as you can see, NBY spiked right off the go. That was from Pence announcing on Sunday that he recommended mandatory mask in Texas. Spiked right off the go. Spiked again later in the week. So there's plenty of price action to play. Again, it spiked at the end of the week because of Texas actually announcing mandatory mask. AHPI, same thing. It didn't spike immediately, if I'm not mistaken, but it did spike later in the week. It actually had a downtrend right off the get-go, but it did spike later in the week. HBI is allied health, so it's more than just mass. MBY is pretty much a mass. APT, same thing. It spiked, if I'm not mistaken, right on Monday, pretty well, then downtrended, then spiked again. But again, it's the price action that I was paying attention to, that I was recommending. MBY was the main play off of mask. That's what they focused, and it played very well. The other ones that I recommended were FLIR, Crex, Mark. Mark, as you know, whatever. Mark has not done what I expected up until the end. I do expect it to do really well come Monday, but has not done nearly what I expected. I haven't even looked at Crex. I don't even know if it did very well. So we'll look at that chart real quick, but Crex, as you can see, did not do well. So that was a bad play. But again, I think Crex is probably a good play in the long run. Assuming their product is real, they could be what you call a true pump and dump, because their product is supposedly only $2,400, whereas Mark's product, it's the same product. Mark's product is 50,000. So same product is that much less, and it kind of raises some eyebrows. So that's something to think about with Crex. But supposedly they have contracts with the major sports people, NFL, MLB, and stuff like that, NBA. FLIR did really well this week, as Cosmic pointed on. You could have actually played it before his alert on Wednesday. It did really well from the get-go. I guess that was Wednesday, 29th. The get-go was here. Yeah, Wednesday the 29th. So good job, Cosmic. Proud of you, man. But anyway, that was a play. The same thing. All those are important. Safety is important. You're going to be surprised. We talk about this as like a pump, or Sykes talks about it as a pump, but in the essence of thermal imaging, or even testing, so to speak, it goes beyond just COVID-19 testing at airports or wherever it might be. And thermal imaging for COVID-19, it goes beyond that. They've been doing thermal imaging in China since SARS. That's 2003, if I'm not mistaken. We'll look that up. But once this type of thing gets ingrained in society, it's there. It's not going away. And I don't see it going away. The United States has officially, in my opinion, I mean, we've been through this stuff. We've been through SARS, we've been through the bird flu, all that shit. It never did anything to the economy and to everything like this has. This has changed everything. So I definitely see that kind of play in the future just being important. And it's not going to be where one company monopolizes, because that's against the law in the United States. There's always going to be another company that is a player in the environment going on, so to speak. MMM, that was too big of a play anyway. I don't even know if they did well. That's 3M. They obviously make masks. They did do really well. So there you go. But I wouldn't have played MMM just because it's too high price. But $4 on your investment, if you invested at the start of the week, or at least in Wednesday. Everything crashed on Monday apparently. I don't remember the market. I'm too busy at work. But I guess the market crashed on Monday. XFA was on my list. I don't know what to say about XFA. It just, I mean, I guess you had some price action to play, plenty of price action. But other than that, it's pretty much been on a downtrend. I really think it's a $50 stock down the road. That's my opinion. IDEX, great play. KTOF, great play. Both of them up into the end of the week. If you didn't sell by then, you were kind of fucked. They both, KTOF and IDEX, both faded off Thursday, Friday. So you should have sold for your gains and plays. INO, really bad news for INO. 94% on their vaccine, but that's not considered good enough. 94% is just not what we're looking for. So it just cracked hard, and that was actually around here. This crack the rest of the day or the rest of the week was because BNTX came out with their vaccine news, and they did much better. So keep an eye out on both of those, actually. I wouldn't discount INO. They're not out of the game yet as far as the COVID-19 vaccine goes. 94% is still 94%, but BNTX is definitely ahead of them in the race. FRSX, again, with the mark play, FLRR, I really didn't pay attention to how well it did, but I can tell by the stock price it's about the same as it was at the beginning of the week. Yep, exactly the same, 155, 155. So, but still, lots of price action, plenty of movement there. And then CHK, which is bankruptcy play. CHK just, it's a bankruptcy play. It will continue to be volatile, up and down. I expect it to go actually quite a bit higher than it is down the road. But you never know with a bankruptcy play. Who the fuck knows? I mean, why is any of these bankruptcy plays making money? It just doesn't make sense. But that is the way it is market today. So anyway, that was my weekly watch list. But that's what I try to focus on, stuff that will move, or I think is going to move at least. So keep an eye on it. Definitely don't do your own due diligence before you buy any alerts. I am pretty good at 4 a.m. stocks, but that's something you have to keep in mind with my watch list, my daily watch list that I put out. A lot of that is 4 a.m. plays. So keep that in mind. I don't want you to wake up at 7 a.m. and buy something that I recommend necessarily. All right, well, that was all I had to talk about. We will take another break real quick